thank you very much for having me today. I have to say I have never had an introduction that started with, "She's not in pain." So I will do my best to smile and make sure that that is definitely manifested here. But yeah, this happened a long time ago, so I'm fine. My first time in with Impact, and also my first time just here in Poland, so really genuinely a pleasure. I think this is early in the day, still day one, and this is a really good time to maybe take a step back from very specific technical solutions and products and services, and maybe think a little bit more about why we really want fintech, or what do we want it to do for us. So we're going to take a look at a specific segment of fintech, mobile money in this case, and really think about the more macro perspective and look a little bit how fintech and mobile money in particular might be able to help us with economic growth. Oh, sorry. So to start out, if we're going to look at mobile money, it's really important for us to see what exactly is mobile money. So we'll just take a very generic definition here. It's a service in which the mobile phone is used to access financial services. This is the GSMA definition, the trade organization for MNOs, and this is just very widely accepted. Now, I think the bigger question is really, why is this worth our time? Why is it important to us? And here we have two reasons. The first one is business, right? I mean, we know that this is something that is quite profitable. We can look at mobile money and have a business case for it, be it taking a percentage of payments, be it reducing churn. We know that there's a real business case for this. The second reason then would be financial inclusion. It's a very low-cost way to reach multiple people, and just a very cost-effective solution. So the two of these together, you have your business case, and then you have your inclusion part. This can make for a very powerful combination. But I think with any solution that we come up with, or any powerful combination, we have to think about what is the problem that we're really looking to solve if we're going to fully utilize this. So here we're going to look at the global goal of inclusive economic growth at the local, regional, and global levels. So I think we would all agree that this is something that we, for the most part, want to happen. We also see increasing inequality, something that makes this particularly difficult. So how might mobile money help in this situation? We saw the powerful combination, and we're going to look a little bit more into why, into the business case as well as the financial inclusion case for mobile money. And then we're going to think about it also from a more regional context and look at a specific country case and where we might be able to move this forward further. But in this, let's just think a little bit about whether mobile money is potentially... Sorry, I'm having trouble with the clicker. Oh, there we go. If it might be a silver bullet for us, or we might say, is it a magic wand solution, or potentially then the Midas touch, right? So to look a little bit at just where we are currently with mobile money, looking at these statistics, this first one here is from GSMA, the State of the Industry Report, 2017 data. But we know that for registered accounts, we have 690 million. And I think more importantly, if you're looking at where it was a year before this, in 2016, we see it's up almost 25%. So certainly growth there. And then an even more important statistic is really the active 90-day accounts. So accounts that have been active within the past 90 days. And there we see almost 250 million, and that's up almost 30% over the year before. So definitely growing segment. Also, we can see that there's a lot more to come, right? If we're looking at adults 15 and older globally, and this is World Bank Findex data from 2017. They do this report every 3 years, the last one 2014. But 2017 data, we know 1.7 billion individuals, adults, are still unbanked, and this is around 30%. And we know that there are many more that are underbanked, right? So this is just a small slice of the real problem here. We also know that as far as mobile money accounts, we're talking about 4.4% of the global adult population. So a very small percentage. Again, this speaks to the opportunities for growth and development. And then lastly, made or received digital payments, we're talking about 52.3%. So here, if we're looking at over 50% of the adult population that's willing to use digital payments, it could potentially be just an issue of having the right products and services available. So, being that I am not the first speaker today, I have built in a few quiz questions for you to make sure that you're staying awake. First one is, how much money are we really talking about, right? So the mobile industry is currently processing around A, 20 million US dollars per day, B, 200 million US dollars per day, C, 1 billion US dollars per day, or D, 1 trillion US dollars per day. Go ahead and just guess. Yell it out. I heard B, C. It's C, correct. So 1 billion US dollars per day. And if we're talking about just revenue, we're talking about $2.4 billion annually in mobile money revenue. So really, again here, and noting once again that this is something that is really growing, really just a fantastic business opportunity. So if we're looking at the financial inclusion component then, moving the business case aside for a second, thinking about the inclusion component, I think the easiest way to think about financial inclusion is to think about what happens when we don't have it, to think about the exclusion case. And all of these bullet points here outlined are not going to be new to you. I think they're just common sense of what happens when you are not included, but I think it's worth reflecting on. So insecurity, of course, keeping your cash under your mattress, not the best way to keep your savings. Also limited risk management. You have a family emergency, a health emergency. You really either have the cash or you don't. Lack of financing opportunities. You don't have an opportunity to really build that credit score. Leakage, which is just another fancy way to say theft or bribery. And then lastly here, few opportunities for bundling of services. So a financial product or service. Okay. So we're going to take a step now and look a little bit at a regional case. Here we're going to look at Europe and Central Asia in particular. And this is World Bank Findex data again. So this excludes the high-income countries that have a category of their own. Poland is not in here. We're looking just at the non-high-income countries in Europe and Central Asia. And we see that adults, again, 15 and over, 2017 data, 115 million unbanked, so almost 35%, a little bit higher than the global average there. Mobile money account, 3.2%, so a little bit under the average. And then made or received digital payments, 60%. So here we see that there's even more opportunity. We know that people are willing to use the digital payments. So keeping with the regional and actually going to the country now, little quiz question for you. Which of the following countries has the greatest percentage of its population unbanked? A, Cambodia, B, Guatemala, C, Myanmar, or D, Rwanda? I think I've heard all of them, actually. Try again. B, C. It's actually A, it's Cambodia, 78.3%. And just for a little context, Poland is actually around 13% unbanked, so quite banked, obviously. Great. And you'll see, actually, so Myanmar is not too far behind also. Good. So how do we get to where we want to go? At the World Economic Forum, we work with a number of different partners, number of different countries and regions, and what we keep hearing over and over again are these really 6 pain points, or these 6 areas that we really need to work on in order to solve the solution of the unbanked, the underbanked, and then hopefully also this inclusive economic growth challenge. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to highlight a few here. The public-private and the private-private partnerships is really key. Because if we're looking here at a global solution, we need to really think cross-border in particular. And this is going to require multiple industries, multiple actors, multiple sectors. Particularly getting the private sector and the public sector to coordinate a little bit better is going to be important. Also, risk mitigation for cash-light solutions. I think as we move from these very cash-heavy societies to cash-light and cash-less societies, we have to think about the risks involved in that and what are the implications. So cyber is obviously something that will be discussed over the next couple of days, but also thinking about what happens if you're fully cashless and then you have a natural disaster and your infrastructure is wiped out? How do you keep the economy going in those sorts of situations? Particularly this is difficult in developing countries where you might not have the financial resources to pour into the risk mitigation. So how do we work collaboratively across borders on these issues? And then lastly, the consumer-centered approaches. I think with fintech, we have probably all seen that it's not the case of just if you build it, they will come. It's much more of a, if you build a smart consumer-centered product or service, then they will likely come. So really keeping the consumer at the center of things. So looking now to a specific country case, and I like Indonesia in particular because if you look at Findex's data, it's a country that has come a very long way over the last 3 years, but still has a really long way to come. So here we're looking at numbers around 50% of the population unbanked. And if we're looking at mobile money accounts, 3%. So they're there, just not ubiquitous by any means. And then made or received digital payments, 34.6%. So a little bit lower than we would like to see, but certainly potential to grow and expand. What are some immediate opportunities? Well, here we know that alternative credit scoring is kind of a no-brainer, something that can be used to help build financial services and products going forward. But perhaps more importantly, something that's a quick win like utility payments, which are often still paid in cash. So moving this to digital, which is quite a simple solution, is an immediate fix or improvement. Also G2P payments, so government-to-person payments. We know that currently in Indonesia, about 50% are digital, 50% in cash. This can move to digital pretty quickly. Payments from private sector jobs. There are around 30 million adults that are unbanked that are getting their private sector payments, their wages in cash currently. And we know that 70% of that population does have a mobile phone. So really shifting things again towards the digital there when we already probably have some of the infrastructure in place. Agricultural payments, this is almost all done in cash right now, so it'd be great to move that to digital. And then the bundling of services. So using these other products to then offer maybe insurance products or something similar. Great. So this brings us back to sort of our original question of is mobile money the Midas touch? And I think we saw a couple of slides ago that really it's much more of a, we need the whole village here. So mobile money is a fantastic tool, and it's a great way to get us where we want to go, but we're going to need multiple other solutions alongside it and other actors as well. And if we're going to push the metaphor a little further, maybe this isn't such a bad thing because I believe King Midas actually was so successful at turning things into gold that he turned his son and his food into gold, which rendered them rather useless. So I think if we think about mobile money as a tool, and also, you know, just it really is a golden opportunity, if you will, we're likely to be able to take advantage of this and take it quite far. So on that note, one last question for you. Who said opportunities come infrequently? When it rains gold, put out the bucket, not the thimble? Is it Jack Ma, Scrooge McDuck, Angela Merkel, or Warren Buffett? B, Scrooge McDuck? Others? I heard a C, maybe a D? It's D, it's Warren Buffett, actually. So great, thank you once again, really been a pleasure, and look forward to continuing to talk with you throughout the day.